Hello students, good morning to all of you. I hope you will be fine at home. So I welcome you all in this lecture of Electrical Machine 1. That is our subject name, code is EE205 and unit is number 5. You can say the last unit we are going on. So topic is transformers, and in transformers we are going to start or study or learn today, that is equivalent circuit. These are diagrams at different loads and tests. So in this we are going to study about the routine test. We can say the two tests we are going to say, that is open circuit and short circuit. And more circuit tests we will learn this later on. So if I am talking about the electrical machine one, though electrical machine one is basically the important subject of electrical engineering, as I earlier told you, my dear student. So in electrical machine one, we having two main parts. One is the rotating machine, another one is the non-rotating machine. So if I am talking about the rotating machine, the rotating machines are of two types, generator and the motor. So if I am talking about the generator and the motor, so generator works on the principle of Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction, and transformer basically works on the principle of basically transformer also works on the principle of electromagnetic induction. But if I'm talking about the generator, so generator again having the same principle, but motor not having the same principle. Because if I'm talking about the motor, so motor works on the electromagnetic induction, and transformer works on the same principle. So transformer is basically the non-rotating machine, and motor and generator are the rotating machines. So we can say rotating electrical machine, though we have two, generator and motor. That is known as DC machine. But if I am talking about the transformer, so it is a AC machine. It does not work on DC. Why it does not work on DC? Because if I give supply DC, though there will be no rotating part, so the flux will not rotate. Not rotating, not alternating means not cut by the coil, and there will be no induction of an EMF. So we'll get no output response if we give DC supply to transformer. So that is the basic issue. Now, if I'm going to start from the unit number one, so unit number one is basically deals with the basic concepts. Basic concepts are magnetic field. In magnetic field, we having permanent magnet and electromagnet. Permanent magnets are also, already available in the market. You can directly purchase it, and it always persists a magnetic field. But for a huge machine or for large machine, it is can't possible for us to purchase that magnet and use in the field, because in permanent magnet you always find a magnetic field. You cannot change their magnetic field. But if I make electromagnets, so electromagnets also comes in the category of temporary magnet, and we can make temporary magnet or electromagnet with the help of the basic, that is Biot-Savart law. So in the Biot-Savart law, basically what we having a coil. If we give supply to the coil, then with the help of that coil or current, you can say the ampere turn. So ampere turn is what? MMF. And we having the MMF, and we having the reluctance in that circuit. So that reluctance and MMF, we can say MMF by reluctance, that is basically ampere turn by reluctance, we get a flux. So with the help of coil, we get a flux. So that is temporary magnet. But which material we can use for temporary magnet or electromagnet? These are the ferromagnetic material, because they attract by the magnet. So what are they? They are basically iron, nickel, cobalt, steel sheets, and all alloys, silicon steel and steel sheets. So these are basically the ferromagnetic material which we can use for the attraction from the magnet. Okay. Then we having the MMF, that is ampere turn. Flux is basically B by A. B into A means density into area. What is density? Density is basically how much flux confined in a area. That is phi by A. Phi by A. And we can say the unit is Weber per meter square, because area is land into breadth. So meter into meter, we have meter square. So I hope you understand. Okay. Then we having the reluctance. So reluctance is a property of magnetic material that opposes the creation of flux, similar to the resistance. Then we having the intensity. Intensity is basically the mmf per length. So ampere turn per meter, we can say. So mmf by length, we having the intensity. Then we having the BH curve. BH curve basically we are going to study in the transformer also. We have the BH curve. BH curve shows you that if BH curve is basically the relation between B and H. B is the magnetic field density and H is the intensity. So B is equals to mu of H. Mu is the permeability. So permeability is the measurement of magnetic field in a material. We can say how much the magnetic field we can generate, we can introduce, we can produce, we can induce in a magnetic field. Okay? That is your what? That is your basically a permeability. So high magnetic metal always possess the high permeability. All ferromagnetic having the high permeability. But if I am talking about the non-magnetic material, these are plastic, wood, etc. Similar to that, or non-conductive materials, good insulators we can say, plastic, ceramic, and all these. So these are basically comes in the category of non-magnetic. So BH curve shows you the how much density we'll find in the intensity. So in the BH curve, first we give supply. Then if I am talking about the ferromagnetic material, though all ions are scattered, where we give supply, they come in the along, they align with the in the same position. Means we can see the conduction. Then we having the magnetization. Then we having the saturation. So in saturation, iron we having at the low point, but in the steel having 1.4 we can say, and 1.6 in the steel sheet. So steel sheets are more preferable compared to iron and we can say steel in, we can say, heavy loaded or higher demand or heavy HP and higher load machines we can say. So that is the BH curve. Then we having the basically the electromagnetism law. So we having four laws. One is your basically Biot-Savart law, in which we give a coil, we flow a current in a coil, then we found a magnetic field surround that coil. Then we having the Ampere circuit law, is basically similar to that one. Then we having the force law. Whenever there is a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field, it experiences a force. Then we having Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction, means wherever there is a change in fluxation, EMF will induce, known as induced EMF. If circuit is closed, then it's known as induced current. Similar to that, we having the second statement, that is the magnitude of induced EMF is always proportional to the flux linkage variations. Okay. Then we having the second unit, in which we are going to we have studied about the electromagnetic force, that is Lorentz force. It's given by BIL, and when will it take place? Due to the force law. Basically, when we having the current carrying conductor plays in a magnetic field, it experiences a force. That force applicable when the flowing of the current, means velocity of the charges, and the field density, that is B, is always proportional. Then we can say force will be there. If they are parallel, no force will act. And if something is I am applying force on it, though it will move. So if it is moving, means torque is applicable, that is force cross F cross D. So torque will applicable when force into displacement gap. So we having the force, we having the torque in a open loop, closed loop. We having the relay system. We having the basically galvanometer. We find this. We studied about the motor also in a closed loop. Then we having the electromechanical energy conversion. So if I am talking about the transformer, that is based on electromagnetic. But if I am talking about the rotating machines, because transformer is a non-rotating machine, but DC motor and DC generator are the rotating machines. So in those motors, in those machine, we can say we use electromechanical energy conversion, in which we are converting electrical power into the mechanical power and mechanical power into the electrical power. So if I am converting electrical power into the mechanical power, though I need an instrument, a device known as electrical to mechanical motor. And if I am converting mechanical to electrical, that is generator. Okay, so similar to that, we having generator and motor based on electromechanical energy conversion. Two principles are there: Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction, and second is electromagnetic interaction. So applying these two, we can get power into torque, we can get torque into power, we can get voltage into torque, we can get torque into voltage. So both cases we have. If I am talking about the generator, so the generator input will be the motor output, and the generator output will be the motor input. So similar to that, this is all about in the unit 2. And in unit 3, we have studied about the DC machine. Now if I am talking about the DC machine, my dear student, though if I'm talking about the DC machine, so DC machine basically consists having classified into two parts. One convert electrical power into the mechanical power, another one convert mechanical power into the electrical power. So if I'm talking about the machine which is converting the electrical power into the mechanical power, so M denotes motor. Motor is the electric power, DC motor. And if I want to convert mechanical power into the electric power, that is generator. So motor and generator we have. And if I'm talking about the generator, so generator works on the Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction, and basically the motor works on the electromagnetic interaction. So if I'm talking about the generator, so generator works on this principle, Fleming right hand rule, in which motion of the conductor in a magnetic field induces EMF. So it always, if I'm rotating the armature, so it always rotates in the clockwise direction. If I'm talking about the motor, so rotation of the conductor in a magnetic field and induce EMF, so it rotates anti-clockwise. So generator works like this, motor works like this. So Fleming right hand rule for the generator, Fleming right hand rule for the motor, for the directions we can see. Now, if I'm talking about the construction, so construction are same for these two types. Means motor and generator having same construction, but the current direction are reverse. If generator having this current direction, the motor having this current direction. So opposite of it. Okay. So we can say if I'm talking about the generator and the motor, so generator and motor having the similar construction. So in construction we having the stator part known as field and rotor part known as armature. And why we need stator part? Because we want to introduce the magnetic field. So that is why it is known as field. In this field, I need a core that is known as pole core because I want to make magnet, electromagnet. So I need a core which is made up of ferromagnetic metal, and we use lamination to reduce eddy current loss. We talked a lot about eddy current before. So we basically make lamination, not thick, thin laminations, with having the varnish insulation. Means insulation of varnish between them. Okay, I hope you understand. Then we having the basically what we can say, then we having the pole shoe and pole winding. Pole winding to produce a magnetic flux that we use pole winding is basically made up of copper and aluminum, but generally we use copper. If you want to make cost cutting and cheaper cost, we use aluminum. So that coil will be a former wound, because why I'm saying you this former wound, because we need a former shape of rectangular, place a winding on it and directly place on it. So former wound. And pole shoe is basically give the support to pole and for the higher area, so we can reduce the reluctance and having the higher flux. So that is also known as pole phase and pole shoe. Then we need a rotating part which cut the flux as per the Faraday law of electromagnetic induction or as per the electromagnetic induction both. So we need rotating part that is known as armature. So armature having the conductor, having the lap and wave winding, it cuts and commutator convert bidirectional current to unidirectional, and then we having the brush which carries the current and give to the terminals. So I hope you understand, my dear student, about this thing. Okay. Then basically we have the commutation process. So commutation process is basically the reversal of current. So how can we improve the reversal of current with the low loss? Because if reversal of current is not take place very easily, so what happens, we found a spark on the carbon brush. So if I want to reduce that spark on carbon brush, I need a higher resistance. So higher resistance means we use the brushes which is made up of carbon instead of graphite, or we can say instead of copper we use carbon for increase the commutation process. Secondly, we have interpoles. Now if I am talking about the interpoles, my dear student, the interpoles are basically the small part of poles which is directly connected with the armature winding to cope up the armature reaction. Armature reaction is what? The flux of armature distort the main field flux in by the two ways, that is basically what we can say, magnetizing and demagnetizing. So two facts will be there, magnetizing fact and the demagnetizing. So magnetizing and demagnetizing, we can say cross magnetizing and demagnetizing, we can also say. So if I want to reduce that armature reaction, do I need what? I need what? I need what? Basically, I need interpoles and compensating winding, which is directly connected with the armature winding to compensate the armature flux with the flux induced in that compensating winding. So compensating winding flux, that is phi c, is basically the compensate the flux of armature, that is phi to having the higher amount or good amount, or we can say the needed amount or a desirable amount of field flux for inducing the EMF in armature conductors, and we get the output of our demand, our we can say desire. I hope you understand. Then we having the losses. So losses, if I'm talking about, though we having three types of losses. So one is the copper, that is due to the resistance present in the winding. So two windings have armature and field, though we having armature and field resistance, that is 30 to 40%, known as copper loss. Then we having the core, magnetic and iron. Both the three names are same. They basically take place in the core. So these are the magnetic losses, that is eddy current, hysteresis. And eddy current is what happens if, see, this is your stator part of field and this is your rotor part. So rotor part rotates and cut the flux. So what happens? The rotor body is having the low resistance. So low resistance means maximum current will flow. That current is known as eddy current. We having the loss. So what we have to do? We have to reduce that eddy current. So we make laminations, parallel path, and with proper laminations. But the laminations will be the low thickness, or we can say thin lamination. Otherwise, the eddy current will increase. So that is the eddy current, and hysteresis due to the magnetic reversal. Because if the rotate and the armature, so armature rotate in north pole, then south pole, then north pole. So reversal of magnetism is there. We having the BH curve. So what we can do? We can do BH curve reaction by using silicon contained steel sheets, and what we can use otherwise that silicon contain proper cross sections. So we can do with the help of it. Then in the unit number 4, we have studied about the types of the machine, that is motor and generator. Though we having two types, separately excited need a separate battery source or the another DC source, and we having the types of generator and types of motor. So series, separately and self. Separately need a external source, but self is based on the residual magnetism, that is remaining magnetic field in a remaining flux in a magnetic field or residual magnetism. So through which we can do three connections. We can connect field winding, exciting winding in series with the armature winding, known as series wound. We connect field winding in the parallel to the armature winding, known as shunt wound. And if we do all these connection, all these two connections, known as compound wound. So in compound wound we having two things, a long shunt and a short shunt. Then it is also known as cumulative and differential. Then we having the different type of characteristic, open circuit, magnetizing, and all these. Then we having the torque, torque, speed, armature current characteristic in motors. We have studied this thing. Then we have studied about the speed control, because if I'm talking about the motor, my dear student, though motor having the torque but generator having the EMF. So that EMF is known as back EMF for the motor due to the opposite direction, but the value will be 5Z and P by 60. And if I'm talking about the torque, though it is EB into I. EB is the back EMF and I is the armature current. So we talked a lot about this thing. Then we having the speed control by flux, by armature, by voltage and volume method. Then we having testing, direct and indirect, or we can say, if I'm speed control, then above the base, below the base, we having so many. We can say the control methods we have. Then we having the testing. So if I'm talking about the testing, though we have brake test, though we have Hopkinson test, though we have Swinburne's test. So these all are the tests. And why we are doing the testing? For calculate the efficiency. So in efficiency, the loss is playing an important role. Though we having the basically I told you about the copper loss, core loss, and then third loss is the mechanical loss due to bearing and due to the windage, the air gap between the stator field and the basically the field and the armature. So we talked a lot about all this thing. Then we having a transformer is the unit number 5. So in transformer, basically we have studied that transformer is an electromagnetic device which is used to transfer the power from one circuit to another without changing its frequency. So we can say transformer is an electromagnetic static device, not dynamic device. So if I'm using a static word, my dear student, so totally based on the AC. Because if alternating current is there, so flux will be alternating, because phi is always proportional to the I, and we can say phi is equals to Li. So if I'm talking about the phi is equals to Li, means which type of I we are getting, that we are getting the same type of flux. So I is alternating, then flux is alternating. So that flux will move and cut by the second and induce an EMF. So the basic principle of transformer is Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction. And we're having basically on the basis of supply, we're having two types, single phase and three phase. So single phase we are studying, and later on we are going to study about three phase in our next series of lectures. And we having the core and shell. Core and shell type we have. In core, basically uh, we can say winding surrounded to core. If I'm telling about shell, so core surrounded the winding, so we can use it. We can make ENI and LL shell. So we talked a lot about this thing. Now today we are going to study what is basically the equivalent circuit, phasor diagrams at different loads, and test. Equivalent circuit, phasor diagrams at different loads, and test we are going to study in this lecture. Basically in this lecture we are going to study this thing. So I am moving forward. Now, if I am started the lecture, so there will be some objective of my that will be the first is basically help the students to understand about the basics of ideal transformer. What is the ideal transformer? Where we use it? What is the difference between ideal and practical? We can say. So help the student to understand about the basic of ideal transformer. Is the objective, is the motto, and make the students familiar with the equivalent circuit. Which type of equivalent circuit we can make, that is electrical equivalent circuit, phasor diagrams at different load, and test of transformers. So we are going to discuss all these things later on in this lecture. So I am moving forward. Single phase transformer. So what is single phase transformer? First thing I want to tell you, my dear student, here that in a transformer, we having a winding. Okay, uh, we can say there are two types of winding. One is primary, another one is secondary, and both windings are wound on a core. So if I'm talking about the winding, so winding means if I'm talking about the primary winding, so if I'm giving supply to the winding, that is known as primary. And if I'm taking the supply out, basically the load connection, that is known as the uh, secondary winding. So primary winding we are giving the supply, and secondary winding we are connected to the load. And the turns of the primary is known as N1, and the turns of secondary is known as N2. So we can say here in a single phase transformer, in this basically the windings are magnetically coupled because core is seen, but electrically separated. Magnetically coupled and electrically separated. Why is it so? Because we are giving electrical supply to the primary side and taking out the supply from the secondary side. That is, we are connecting the load. So two or more windings coupled by a common magnetic core. So if I am talking about the basically the single phase transformer that is having two windings. So we having the one winding transformer also, that is known as auto transformer. So later on I'll tell you all this thing in this lecture. And if I'm talking about the uh, three winding transformer, then we having again three winding, that is known as tertiary winding for local load. So later on I'll tell you about whole this thing, that is single winding transformer, a tertiary winding transformer, or winding three winding transformer. So later. Now moving forward, ideal transformer. Now, one thing is there, my dear student, if I'm talking about the ideal. So, ideal condition is always different from the practical conditions. Because if I'm dreaming for something. So, I'm dreaming means I am thinking something. My thinking and my practical things are opposite to each other. We can say not similar to each other. They having some different things. Means I'm always thinking that I have a big bungalow. I have the luxurious cars, the cars which are available in the whole world. That luxurious cars I am having in my dream. Okay, and a big bungalow I am having. So these are basically the ideal conditions. So ideal transformers is different from the we can say the practical transformer. If I'm talking about the ideal condition, so in ideal condition I will not make any mistake because I am become a god. I am not a human being. If I am a human being, so I make a mistake. So if I am talking about the practical, though in practical we will find always losses. So what we have in ideal transformer, we can say the leakage flux, because we having the self-induced EMF E1 and self-induced of secondary, that is E2. So leakage flux will be there. Okay. So what happened? The basically zero leakage flux produced by the primary and secondary currents are confined within a core. No leakage will be there. Means no losses will be there. No eddy current and some other loss will be there. So all flux will be mutual, not self. So confined to the core, we can say zero flux. So we are having one loss is equal to the zero. So we are getting higher efficiency. So we can say 100 efficient transformer, but it is not 100% efficient transformer. But practical says it can't be possible. Okay. Now the windings have no resistance. It is not possible. We have always our body having the resistance. So we can't say that non-living thing have not resistance. All winding having the resistance, because the metal which we are using to make that winding will having the small value resistance, but having the resistance. So winding and no resistance, induced voltage equal applied voltages. It is due to the no resistance. The core has an infinite permeability, means permeability is higher, means higher magnetic flux. So reluctance of the core is zero. If permeability is infinity, the reluctance will be zero. If permeability is zero, then reluctance will be infinity. So my condition is reluctance of the core is zero. So the permeability is very high, that is infinity. Negligible is current to require established magnetic flux. So if I want to establish or produce or generate or induce magnetic flux, so I need a small current, that is negligible. Yes. Lossless magnetic core, no eddy current or hysteresis loss. No I square R loss because we have no resistance. No leakage flux means all flux is confined to core, mutual is there. No hysteresis or eddy current we have. Negligible current we are using. So we can say 100% efficient transformer. But practical it is not possible. This is the condition for ideal transformers. Now, if I am talking about the ideal transformer, so here I am showing you one thing, that V1 is the supply to this primary winding and V2 is the connected to the load which having no load. Now I am giving the V1, through V1 the I1 will flow and having the self-induced EMF, that is V1. and that flux is of alternating nature, so move from. And why it take place? If I'm giving the current, that current will meet with the N1. So I1 N1 convert into the MMF, and if I am the reluctance in that circuit, though MMF by reluctance we are getting the flux that is phi 1, that is the primary flux phi, and this flux is moving, no leakage is there, and moving and cut by the secondary winding, and we are getting the E2 and V2, that is the secondary side voltage, but E2 is zero. Why? Because there is no load, so open circuit is there, we can say no load current we having. So V1 is the supply voltage, V2 is the output voltage, IM is the magnetizing current, and E1 is the self-induced EMF. IM is the magnetizing current, and E1 is the self-induced EMF. And I1 is the no load input current because we are having the no load, and I2 is the output current, and E2 is the mutually induced EMF. So we can make a simple phasor diagram. Phi is proportional to I, though I is there, though flux is also there. And V1 is always we can say lead by the 90 degree, because coil is there, resistance is no there, so we can't say it is an impedance triangle, we having the perpendicular. So it is V1, here we having the E1, and E2 we can say, and E1 lags IM by the angle of 90 degree, that is phi by the 90 degree. Why? Because I am telling you about the practical condition, ideal condition. If I am talking about the practical condition, though the angle will not be 90 degree, it will be less than 90 degree, but it can, we can say it is basically uh, lagged by the angle, some angle, that is phi. So here it is the 90 degree. So understand about the ideal transformer. Now, equivalent circuit of a transformer. If I want to make the equivalent circuit of a transformer, that is no load equivalent, we having the IC and IM. Now one thing is there, my dear student, which I want to tell you. If I'm talking about the practical conditions, so in practical conditions we having both these two, but in the ideal condition we doesn't have these two, but in practical condition we having these two. Why we having these two? Because if I want to tell you later on, I'll also tell you this thing, that if I'm talking about the current, so in the primary side what happens, if I'm applying the V1 is the primary voltage, so with the help of that V1 or E1 the current will flow, that is I1. But if I am in no load, the current will be I0, and that current divides into two parts. One which introduce the flux in that coil, means meet with the turns and introduce MMF and reluctance, then flux. And second part is basically meet with the resistance, of the coil, that produce the copper loss, that is IC. So I am having the two components of I0, one which is meet with the inductance of that coil, induce flux, and one part is meeting with the resistance, produce a loss, that is copper loss or loss. So we having two components. Im is the magnetizing component, so we can write I naught sin phi naught, that is magnetizing component, and Ic is equals to I naught cos phi naught, that is your active component due to resistance, but it is your loss, it is your basically the copper loss. Or we can also identify with the simple Ohm's law, that R naught is equals to V1 by Ic, and X naught is equals to V1 by Im. We can find from here. So I hope you understand. Okay, now moving forward, equivalent circuit parameters refer to primary and secondary sides respectively. So if I'm talking about the equivalent circuit, my dear student, so I am why I'm telling you about the equivalent circuit, because I want to make equivalent with the electrical circuit. So if I'm talking about the electrical circuit, in electrical circuit we having passive and active elements. So active elements are the sources, load, and the input supply, we can say. But if I'm talking about the passive elements, means impedances. So if I'm talking about the primary winding, so primary winding having the coil. So in that coil we having the inductance, that is X1, reactance we can also say that, and we having the resistance, that is R1, maybe having the lower value but having the resistance. So we can see here Z1 and Z2, and this is your core. So we can represent like R1 is the resistance of the primary winding, and S1 is the inductance of the primary winding, and one current is I1, which divides into two parts. One gives the I2 dash, and first part is the I0, which converted into two parts, basically the current component, or we can say the copper loss component IC, and somewhere you can find as a IW, and another one is the IM, that is magnetizing component, which produce flux for you. Okay, then we having the I2 dash. This current is to counterbalance the second current. This secondary winding again produce a load, because we are connecting the electrical load. So electrical load depends on three types of load: inductive, capacitive, and resistive. If I'm talking about the resistive, it means I'm talking about the unity power. If I'm talking about the inductive, means I'm talking about the lagging power. And if I'm talking about the capacitive, so I'm talking about the leading power. So lagging means current is lagging by the voltage V, and leading means current is leading by the voltage V, that's means V, and unity means V and I are in the same phase. So similar to that, in the secondary winding, we having the resistance R2 and X2 is the reactance, and we having the load that is V2. Through this V2, we can find a I2 current which is flow and again generate or create or induce or produce a magnetic flux that is phi 2. So we can say phi 1 direction is this one, phi 2 direction is this one. But phi 2 and phi 1 will basically opposite to each other, so they can cross basically cancel out each other. If they are cancel out each other, though, we can say the Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction will not take place and the mutual induction will not take place. So to counterbalance this whole condition, there will be some potential difference between E1 and E2. You can say the self-induced EMF of primary winding, self-induced EMF of the secondary winding, and E1 and V1. So we are having the difference between E1, V1 and E1. If potential difference is there, then EMF will introduce, and due to this EMF, the current will flow. So we are having two currents in the primary side. One is the I naught, that gives you the loss component and the magnetizing component, and second is the I2 dash current, which counterbalance the I2 current, and we can say the flux of I2. So I2 dash will also create phi 2 dash flux, and phi 2 flux are in the opposite to each other, so they will cancel out, and the remaining flux is a working flux is basically the phi 1 flux, that is of the primary. Okay, so I hope you understand. That is why it is show you here that we having the I1 current comprising into two parts, divided into two parts. I2 dash to counterbalance the I2 current, and the flux which created by the I2 dash is phi 2 dash, which also counterbalance the flux of I2, that is phi 2. So we having this the current component divided into two parts, that is copper loss component, and another one is the magnetizing component. So R naught and X naught, and we are having the R2 and X2 here, and we are having the load that is V2, and load is Zn. So I hope you understand. Okay, the current which is flowing, this is I1 into primary side, and I2 is the secondary side. So we can make a equivalent circuit. So equivalent circuit parameters refer to primary and secondary sides respectively, which I want to show you. So I hope you understand about the equivalent circuit. Now moving forward, the effect of circuit parameters should not be changed while transferring the parameters from one side to another. We can say the effect of circuit parameters should not be changed while transferring the parameters from one side to another side. It can be proved that a resistance of R2 in secondary is equivalent to the R2 by K2 square. Now one thing is there, my dear student. Two things are there, the primary turns and the secondary turns. So we are having a transformation ratio. Ratio is basically the ratio of secondary voltage to the primary voltage, secondary turn to the primary turn, and primary current to the secondary current. So this is your transformation ratio. So if I am denoting this thing whole, so I need a K. K is basically what? K is your transformation ratio. So it can be proved that a resistance of R2 in secondary is equivalent to R2 by K square, will be denoted as R2 dash. That is equivalent second resistance with respect to primary, which would have caused the same loss as R2 in secondary. So we can write like this: I2 square R2 dash is equal to I2 square R2. Similar to that, R2 dash is equals to I2 by I1 square R2. Now it is your transformation ratio, and R2 square by K square. So if I am moving the primary to this, for example, this primary, this is secondary. Now I'm moving like this. So we having the the difference of transformation ratio means the difference of turns in primary and secondary, that is denoted by this thing. So if I am moving to the secondary side, we can write R2 by K square, and where K is what? K is your the transformation ratio. I hope you understand. Now transferring primary side parameters to secondary side, so we can write R1 dash, that is K square R1, X1 dash is equals to K2 square K square X1, Z1 dash is equals to K2 Z1, E1 dash is equals to K E1 means transformation ratio. E1 dash is equals to I1 by K. I0 dash is equals to I2 by K. So we can represent like this. Now see here. Basically, I am combining whole these things. Means I1 and I2 are basically combined. We can say primary and secondary are in the combinations. So we use what? We basically secondary to primary we are combining. So we are applying R1 dash, X1 dash, Z1 dash, R0 dash, X0 dash, and I1 dash also with the help with the respect to transformation ratio. And R0 will become R0 dash and X0 will become X0 dash. Why we are doing so? Because we are transferring from primary to secondary and secondary to primary. I hope you understand. Now moving forward, equivalent circuit with respect to primary. Now see, IC I not I1, R1, X1, R2 dash X2. This will become R not 1 and this will become X not 1, the combination. And V2 by K is equals to V2 dash. So if I am transferring to the with respect to primary, we are having this thing. So we can combine like this. Now see, we can combine like this. Now the R1 plus R2 dash and X1 plus X2 dash we can say. So we are having X not 1, R not 1, I2 dash is there, and Z not 1 and R not X not. Here we have the I not, IC, the loss component and the magnetizing component, and I1 we have. So where the load is ZL. So R not 1 is equals to R1 plus R2 dash and is equals to R1 plus R2 by K square. X1 will become X1 plus X2 dash is equals to X1 plus X2 by K square. Z naught is equals to 1 is equals to R naught plus J X naught. So if I am transferring to the primary, so I have to consider the key, that is transformation ratio. Now, approximate equivalent circuit. Since no load current is 1% of the full load current, the no load circuit can be neglected. So we can neglect the no load current circuit. Why? That is R naught and X naught, because it is 1% of the full load. So we can neglect. So I'm neglecting in this circuit. So I hope you understand. Now moving forward. Now phasor diagram at the transformer load. So as I earlier told you, I naught is generated here into two, converted into two parts, IM and IC. So see here. This is your V1, this is your phi1 and IM magnetizing. Basically, IM is always proportional to the flux because IM is the responsible for generation of flux, and IC is always corresponding to V1 because I square R. So ICV is corresponding to V1 and IM is corresponding to flux. So though these are the perpendicular to each other, then we're having the phasor sum of it, that is I naught. That is your I naught, that is no load current, and this shows you the flux. So we can find a no load phasor diagram. I hope you understand. So that is your transformer at no load, means no load is connected on the secondary, and phasor diagram for transformer at no load is given here. That is your the no load. I hope you understand. Okay. Now, transformer assuming no voltage drop in the winding. We can say what? Transformer on no load assuming no voltage drop in the winding. So we can make like this in the primary and corresponding to this I2. Basically what happens, figure shows the phasor diagram of transformer on no load by assuming no voltage drop in a winding, means no I square is there, equal number of primary and secondary terms. So same equal numbers we have. So we having I naught from the this diagram we are getting I naught is there. So we having the I naught and I1 is there. I1 is the having two components, I naught and I2 dash. So I2 dash we can find out with respect to I2. If I2 is lagging, though I2 dash we will also find in the opposite side. Okay, so we can make this phasor diagram. Though in from the I naught we are having phi naught and from I1 we are having the phi. So E1 E2 is equals to. I hope you understand. Okay, now moving forward, transformer on no load. I already told you. Transformer on load will give you like this. First is the phi naught, then we are having phi 2 dash from here this side. Phi 2 is basically cut the phi naught. So due to this difference, phi 2 dash will generate. So this is the phi 2 dash. So phi 2 dash plus phi 2, we can say minus phi 2. So phi 2 and phi 2 is cancel out. So we are having the phi naught. So that is your mean working on load. If load is there. Now load are of three types: lagging, leading, and unity. Unity means resistive, lagging means inductive, and leading means capacitive. So it is here now. So unity power factor means what, my dear student? No lagging, no leading. So see here, we having the I2 dash. We can make a we can say impedance triangle, that is I2 square, I2 R2, I2 X2, and we can connect with the impedance triangle, that is V2. Same here for the here and same here for the primary side. So primary side and secondary side we can make an impedance triangle. This is your unity power factor. Now this is your lagging power factor. Now see, here it is lagging. So we are getting the I2 dash different and we are making the impedance triangle here. That is I2R2, I2X2, and we are combining this, so we are getting E2. And we are having these I2 Z2. Similar to that in the primary side. But it is lagging, means I2 is lagging with the V2. So similar to that, we are getting I2 dash in the that side. In leading power factor, now see. In leading factor, basically the I2 is lead with respect to V2. So we can make I2 dash opposite side, and we can make impedance triangle in the both sides. Because we are having R1 plus JX1, R2 plus JX2, R1 plus JX1 for primary, R2 JX2 for secondary. So Z1 and Z2 we can make with the help of impedance triangle, in which the R is the base, X is the perpendicular, and Z is the hypotenuse. So we are making this like. So we are having three: unity, lagging, in which the current is lagging, basically we can say. Then we having the leading power. So I hope you understand about the phasor diagrams in the both three cases. Now transformer test, basically. Equivalent circuit we have understood. How can we make phasor diagram? We understood. Now these are the transformer tests. So the performance of transformer can be calculated on the basis of equivalent circuit. So the four main parameters of equivalent circuit are R naught as a referred to primary or secondary R2, R naught 2. The equivalent resistance is X naught and referred to primary and secondary X naught 2. Magnetizing susceptance, that is B naught, or reactance X naught, and core loss and conductance, that is Z naught or R naught. So the above constant can be easily determined by the two tests: open circuit test, that is no load test, and short circuit test, that is impedance test. So these tests are economical and convenient. These tests furnish the result without actually loading the transformer. Now see, in open circuit test, the secondary winding is open circuited and the primary winding is connected to the full rated line voltage. That is, we can say the low voltage. So see here, we having the ammeter connected here, wattmeter for power measurement or loss measurement, and V voltmeter for the voltage measurement. So we can say, if I am talking about the open circuit, so in open circuit we always find core losses, because in open circuit current value have be limited, though all losses converted into the core loss. So we have to find the core loss with the help of the open circuit test. So here no load is there. So in low voltage winding we are giving the supply rated, and in high voltage is become open circuit. Okay, so usually conducted on HV side. To find no load loss or core loss, no load current I naught, which is helpful in finding G naught or I naught, and B naught or X naught. How can we find it? Now see here. Core loss is equals to the wattmeter reading, that is V naught I naught cos phi naught. V naught is given from V, and I naught is from ammeter, and we having cos phi naught is equals to W O upon V naught I naught. We can easily find out. And IC or IW is equals to I naught cos phi naught. We already know this thing. So we having this thing value. And I, we can say am or mu, that is magnetizing component. So I naught sin phi naught. So if I am cos phi naught, so we can find out the sin phi naught is always equal to the I naught square minus I mu square, or IW square, the cos. And I naught is equals to V naught Y naught. Y naught is equals to I naught upon V naught, and WOC is equals to V naught square G naught. That is, we can say conductance here. We can find out. And as existing susceptance, we can also find out with the equation Y naught square minus G naught square, where R naught is equals to V naught upon ISC, and X naught is equals to V naught upon I mu. G naught is equals to I mu upon V naught, and B naught is equals to I mu upon V naught. We can find the open circuit test, and we can derive this value. Now secondly is short circuit test. So in high voltage winding, we basically give the supply and connect ammeter, wattmeter, and voltmeter, and in secondary side we make the short circuit. So low voltage winding is short circuited, high voltage is open in the previous case, and we are giving low voltage winding to supply in the open circuit, and we are giving the supply in the high voltage but below the rated. Now see what we can do here. In short circuit test, the second terminals are short circuited, and the primary terminals are connected to a fairly low voltage source. The input voltage is adjusted until the current in the short circuit winding is equal to its rated value, because short circuit having the maximum value of current, so we'll get the current dependent loss, that is I square loss, means copper loss. So we can find copper loss in this test, and in the previous test we are going to find the magnetic losses, that's eddy current and hysteresis in combined manner. So again, wattmeter gives you the copper loss value, so is equal to its rated value. The input voltage, current, and power is measured here with the help of this figure, and usually connect on LV side to find low load, basically load copper loss to predetermine the efficiency, Z naught or Z naught 2, X naught or X naught 2, R naught or R naught 2 to predetermine the voltage regulations. So we connected ammeter, voltmeter, and wattmeter in this, and we can find with the help of this diagram that is full load copper loss is equals to WSC ISC square R naught. So we are having the short circuit current ISC, and R naught is WSC upon I square SC. Z naught 1 is equals to VSC upon ISC, and X naught 1 is equals to, as per the impedance triangle, we can write by the Pythagoras theorem. The perpendicular is equals to under root hypotenuse square minus B square. So Z naught 1 square minus R naught. So we are having two tests. Core and magnetic or iron loss we can find with the open circuit test, and copper loss we can find with the short circuit test. So I hope you understand about these tests. Then the some related MCQ with this. If the primary winding is excited by a purely sinusoidal alternating voltage, then the nature of the flux produces, obviously, a phi is proportional to I, so sinusoidal. Breather present in the transformation is used to absorb atmospheric pressure. I already told you. What happens if DC supply is given to the transformer? So not work at all, as I earlier told you. While conducting short circuit test on a transformer, which side is short circuit? High voltage side, low voltage side, primary side, and secondary side. Low voltage side short circuit, otherwise maximum current will flow. Short circuit test on a transformer is conducted to determine core loss, copper loss, hysteresis loss, eddy current loss. So option is B, copper loss. We only get copper losses from the short circuit test. It is true statement. We only get iron losses from the open circuit test. It is again a true. This thing. During open circuit test, OC of a transformer, a primary supplied rated kVA, primary supplied full load current, and primary supplied current at reduced voltage, primary supplied rated voltage. So option is D, primary supplied at rated voltage, because we are applying only low voltage side. So we have this. Which of the following is not purpose of iron core in a step-up transformer? That is option C, to decrease the magnitude of the magnetizing current. In a transformer, the tappings are generally provided on both sides, primary and secondary. Okay, I hope you understand about this thing. Now these are the references from which I took some material to deliver this lecture. A. Phil Gerard is the international author. R.K. Srivastava is again a good book. Stephen J. Chapman is again an international author, good book, and Gopal K. Dubey. So these all books are available in the library. You can just refer it, read it. They having the good content for better understanding. So I hope you understand. So thank you from my side for listening this lecture, for basically understanding this lecture. I hope you understand about this thing. So thank you from my side. I hope you understand, my dear student. Thank you for patience with me. Thank you, students. Thank you.